Hi folks, McBeard here. It's been a while. Sorry for the lack of video. It's been a little busy, but I have one for you today, and I'm pretty excited to give it to you. I have a couple pieces of news I wanted to go over real quick before we talk about the Nilfgaard deck that I'll be playing for you today for this YouTube video. Exclusive, no Twitch footage on this one. We're going to play a couple games, and I'll show you what I've been running for Nilfgaard. But first of all, I wanted to say a couple things. Number one, I am going to TwitchCon October 20th to 22nd. It is a ways away, lots of stuff to prepare for, but I do have a couple of friends that stream here in Toronto, and we're going to be going and meeting up together, and it's going to be a great time. It's TwitchCon. I've never been before. I'm really, really excited to go. And I don't know what's in store for me there. I don't know what's in store for Gwent there. But if you're interested in going to TwitchCon, I will be there. We can hang out. And if you use this link in the description below, it helps me out as well. If you were thinking about getting a ticket, it definitely helps me out to use that link below. But yeah, I'm just really, really excited to go. Really, really excited to be part of the Twitch community in general, the Gwent community. Sometimes it feels a little in a bubble, but I do know that Twitch in general is just such a great platform and just really, really cool. And there's lots of Twitch streamers I watch and I interact with that are not explicitly making Gwent content, but Gwent is where it's at for me, and that's what I'll be bringing to TwitchCon, just a strong Gwent presence and whatever comes with that. So I'm really, really excited. TwitchCon's going to be awesome. Second thing, last video I made about Reaver Hunters had a lot of mixed opinions, I think, in the comments, and I gave it a little bit of thought. I thought about Reaver Hunters, and I thought about how Northern Realms used to feel, and how when you'd play Northern Realms, you'd be able to fight for round 1, and then in rounds 2/round 3, you would be able to pull off some really gross medic chains. King of Beggars into medic, into Reaver Scout, into medic, into something else. Maybe Shawnee is part of this combo. Like huge crushing strength in some single plays. And Northern Realms don't have that anymore, but Reaver Hunters are kind of giving them that low effort, high strength plays, and I want to believe that they're supposed to make up for a lot of the strength that they removed from Northern Realms when they kind of gutted the way medics worked and the way Northern Realms interacted with their graveyard. I still think the cards are overtuned. I really do. But I think I can understand where they're coming from with that design. The only problem I have really with Reaver Hunters is that it feels like it's carrying the faction right now. And also I think that like the fact that the bond triggers on 2 of them at the same time, like they're double buffing, and the damage component almost feels unnecessary. Like I think that the cards in general, they can be okay, and I think you might just want to look at a different bond mechanic or maybe a different trio mechanic, because right now they just are so crazy strong, those cards. If those are the cards that are carrying the faction, does it not feel like closed beta pre-positioning patch K here with Nilfgaard? The faction wasn't all that great, but because K here could give you an extra turn at the end of the game, he was carrying Nilfgaard, and you couldn't play Nilfgaard without K here. And I feel like competitive wise, it's hard to play Northern Realms without Reaver Hunters, with the exception of maybe one very gross spell-based Radovid deck. So because they feel very auto-includey right now as far as like a super competitive Northern Realms deck, that also worries me. And I'm just thinking about game health, and it's a card that even when I beat them, it makes me mad. So I have not changed my opinion on Reaver Hunters. You can't convince me that they're completely okay. But that's just me. That's just me. But we're not talking about Northern Realms. We're talking about Nilfgaard, and I got a great John Calveit deck to show you. And it's a deck that you might be familiar with, because this deck, I think Nilfgaard right now is king of the ladder. It's very much like Scoia'tael and Monsters were in closed beta. We're seeing a lot of Nilfgaard, and a lot of us are experiencing the climb again. Like, these aren't games that are being played at the top of the ladder because the meta has been going on for months and months and months. Lots of us are climbing and not so much kind of fighting for a spot. No one's ranked 21 yet. I don't even think anybody's ranked 16 yet at the time of this recording. Correct me if I'm wrong. So this is all climb builds. Like, all of these are like, what's the best build to climb with? So as far as sustain and as far as like top level competitive to get that #1 spot, it's all shifting too much. So it's proving that John Calveit, and in some other cases maybe Morvran or Emir, but Nilfgaard is showing to be one of the stronger factions for this. So I thought I'd take a look at my Nilfgaard list, and I brewed one up. It's based a lot off a previous video I did that had it was like a slim spies deck where you're using your emissaries to pull out Nausicaa Brigades, which kill the emissaries. You're bringing out your Vico Varomedics to bring back the emissaries, which pulls out another Nausicaa Brigade, which kills the emissaries. So you have this machine of pulling cards out of your deck with Vico Varomedics, emissaries, Nausicaa Brigades, and of course you're running those Imperial Golems as well. So those are 12 gold cards that are flying out of your deck, improving your draws in rounds 2 and 3, and you know, your bronze cards just are flowing. And then you end up, then you can somehow win with Tibor, perhaps Igni, maybe Bork, Villain Tretmirth in your deck as well to close things out. So they just have a really solid way to fight for round 1 and a really solid way to close down round 3. And most good decks have this. So let's take a look at the deck and I'll show you what I'm talking about. All right, so here's my John Calveit deck, and I've made a lot of swaps over the course of playing this, especially with the gold card choices, but generally the idea is that this deck is a very thin deck. You likely will open with John Calveit or perhaps an Emperor Brigade if it's in your hand, and then you'll play John Calveit, and you're looking for cards that start the cycle. So first of all, the Imperial Golems are very strong cards. It kind of forces you to use John Calveit early because you don't want to use your emissaries and draw into these golems, which is maybe the only. I wouldn't say it's a clunky part of the deck, but I feel like the options are really limited. It's just you kind of have to play Calveit early. The only play that I make before Calveit generally is placing an Emperor Brigade, and sometimes on my first John Calveit I place the Emperor Brigade, depending on what's in my hand. But the idea is that you play your emissary, you get your Nausicaa Brigade, which allows you to kill a spy, and it grows to a 9 base strength bronze, which is quite good. And then you play your Vico Varomedic to bring back the emissary, and maybe pull another brigade to kill it. And then play another Vico Varomedic to bring back another brigade, etc., etc. And that's kind of how you thin your deck. Meanwhile, all that time you're buffing your Emperor Brigades because every time you place a disloyal unit, they get stronger. And that's kind of how this bronze core works. And it's very fluid feeling. You get a lot done. You get a lot done with your strength, building strength, keeping up with your opponent. And generally your bronze cards can do a lot of work for you. This version is only running 2 brigades and 2 Vico Varos because this is the thin version. And I say thin, it is 25 cards, obviously most decks are, but this deck is hoping to facilitate a very, very thin deck that allows you multiple draws with Ciri Dash. This deck can be run without Ciri Dash, but I would suggest putting in a 26th card, maybe a 3rd Vico Varomedic, possibly a 3rd Emperor Brigade, possibly both for a 27 card deck, because you don't want to run out of cards. But in this case, you're happy to do that because Ciri Dash is always going back into your deck. If you aren't running Ciri Dash, you'll run standard Ciri, or perhaps something else like you know, there's some lists that run Villain Tretmirth. There are some decks that run Leo Bonhart. There's some decks that run Rainfarn. I actually don't have Rainfarn. But I do have Leo Bonhart, which is a fine card. You don't need Reveal to make him work. But I think that the golds are quite flexible, at least in this spot here, and Igni's spot perhaps, but Igni's very strong in this meta right now. It's very, very rare that you don't get a chance to play Igni. But if you've been watching my videos for a while, you know that I have a real love-hate relationship with Geralt Igni, because boy does it suck when you can't get any value for this and it's just a 4 strength bronze. But that's really, you know, that's kind of the heart of the bronze cards. Your silver cards are more or less standard. You have your mage and your lock, and they're, you know, Vanamar is one of the best mages and Ox is one of the best locks. Be patient with Ox. Always try to get 2 great targets when you play him. Don't play him as a rush lock. If you need to rush lock something, you do have Dimeritium Shackles. It's the only special card in here, and but there are a lot of situations where you may want to lock a gold card, and a lot of situations where you just want to have that extra lock. So you have 3 locks in this deck, and that it's been feeling pretty good. I'm not running any Clear Skies, which is dangerous, but I do run Vanamar, and I usually use Vanamar when it's at its worst. Generally, though, I do have the Nausicaa Standard Bearer. This is a recent addition for me, but it helps. Like sometimes my melee row will get weathered, and I'll just fight through it. The golems will die in the weather. The Emperors will grow, and I'll still be able to fight for the board, but it feels bad. It would feel much better if I just had a Standard Bearer to clear it. So the Standard Bearer is Very useful card. I think that the bronze cards that clear weather are proving to be more valuable than clear skies for me, because you don't have to actually lose your turn to clear the weather and lose strength, and your opponent's in an even better position than they were before they weathered you in the first place. Nausicaa Standard Bearer allows you to get ahead and clear the weather at the same time. That's one of the reasons why I like this card and other cards like it, but this card specifically is great because the buff gets applied to another unit as well, perhaps something that's already been damaged by the weather. Some also possibly staggering your big units like your 2 Emperor Brigades. So really like the Nausicaa Standard Bearer. His voice lines are screaming and horse noises, and it's just like a cacophony of noise. It's always fun. I should craft a premium of this guy because it's a good card, good looking card. As far as the rest of the silvers, the Guardian is a flex silver, I think. I play it because he seems very strong, but he is very much, this is a term you'll hear a lot, I think, if you play competitive games in general, but there's a term called anti-fun, and I think that the truest way of identifying a card that's anti-fun is a card that you're kind of meh when you play it, but for your opponent it feels really bad. So in this case, the Guardian's effects, you don't even get to see the effects. Your opponent has to experience it behind their card backs, right? They draw the lesser golems, which are not good. You know, they're just 6 strength vanilla cards. So they have to draw those cards. They have to mulligan one away. They have to deal with playing with it and the decision of playing with it. It kind of gums up their whole hand and their whole draw experience. And it's really bad for them. But on your side, you're just playing a 10 strength silver and you just know that you're kind of messing with them, but you don't really experience the torment of having to draw into those cards. So I would say that the Guardian is a card that, not in a super negative way, but by definition is more of an anti-fun card. And I think that that's it's okay. I'm playing it because at 10 strength, he's actually quite strong and he's a great play to get ahead. But I think that he's a flex spot. You could put other cards here for sure. And then down here, and then Peter Sargwenlev. There's not a lot to say about Peter. He's just really, really strong. He can do everything. He's one of the most flexible cards in the game. He just absolutely deletes some cards outright. He's oppressive against consume monsters. He's oppressive against spell Scoia'tael. He's oppressive against any big buff faction, and a lot of the factions are working on big buffs. And he's a 6 strength body on top of his huge resetting ability and his basic Mardroam ability attached to a 6 strength body. So what do you say? Peter's just a really good card, possibly too good of a card. So it's kind of weird to not really run him in a deck. And then finally, you have your spies. You have Cantarella that gives you card advantage. And because you can make such high tempo plays with this deck, a lot of times you can afford to play Cantarella and not actually get behind and score. And if you're running Igni, you can actually create an Igni row, which feels pretty good when you can get it off. And finally, one of my favorite cards is Joachim de Wet. His ability is so strong right now. You can pull out a boosted unit by 10 when you play him, so he offsets himself a lot. And on top of the fact that whatever you pull out, that effect goes off as well, and it can just kind of facilitate even more things. So, you know, you could pull out a 16 strength Peter Sargwenlev, which then resets a unit and then brings its strength down. And it's just such a massive swing with Joachim, and I love this card. And one final piece about Joachim, when you use John Calveit and Kay here, you get to see what's in your deck, what's coming up, so you know exactly what you're going to get out of Joachim. Perhaps Cantarella is showing you some stuff as well. Or you're using Kay here or Calveit to know what Cantarella is drawing you. So having that foresight into your own deck, it's you know, having that information is very Nilfgaard, right? So I like how those cards really work together as well. So Kay here is just a great card. You play him for another chance to pull something out of your deck. As we know, John Calveit allows you to look at the top 3 cards of your deck and pick one and then place them back in the order that they're there. So, and the emissaries allow you to do this as well in a roundabout way. Even though you're looking at bronze units only, you do know what the next one is. And then John Calveit can show you which of those is actually the bronze card. And you generally know what's happening next, which is really important, especially when it comes to playing big cards like Tibor. You kind of know what you can get away with Kay here. And then, like I said, Ciri is a flex spot. This deck is very, very thin. Sometimes you'll play Ciri once or twice. And with Kay here and John Calveit on hand, it's likely that you can get her out multiple times because you can find her. But the issue with it, the only issue I have with Ciri Dash is because this deck tends to play John Calveit very early, you're not able to use him later to get Ciri Dash. So you can make a case to drop the golems, so you're less inclined to feel like you have to play John Calveit early. But the golems are so important to establishing that early board presence. So it's really kind of touch and go with how I feel about Imperial Golems and John Calveit, and how John Calveit really works in a Ciri Dash deck. But at the moment, we're running Ciri Dash here. But like I said, you can make a case for a lot of different cards. Before I even crafted Ciri Dash, I was running Standard Ciri, and she was very good in this deck as well. Standard Ciri is a really good card right now. She's 7 strength, and she can get you a turn back. So I would recommend running Ciri. I think we're going to show you the Ciri Dash version, though, because, you know, it's kind of a reimagining of a deck that I made a video about before. Basically, every video beyond you know, the video I made about Gwent Challenger and the video that I made about being fired up for open beta, every video after that or before that is more or less obsolete. So my video catalog is quite thin at the moment. So it's time to make that a bit more robust. Let's jump into a game and see how this deck does. YouTube exclusive for you folks. This is not Twitch footage, and I like making these videos because, you know, I can just hang out with you guys. And yeah, I am really excited about going to TwitchCon. I really am. I don't know what to expect. Part of me wants to read up about it and understand exactly what's going to go on, but part of me is like fine to go into it blind. Like, I just know it's going to be a party. I know there's going to be friends there that I'll get to meet, and I'm probably going to be really surprised by the people that show up. So generally I don't keep brigades in my hand because they're very, very often pulled out by emissaries because I have so many of them. Having the Vicovara medic in hand is good because I don't like John Calveit to show me 2 Vicovara medics and maybe a Nausicaa standard bearer, which is also good to have in hand. So it just makes the emissary pulls a bit more predictable and exactly what I want to see. So we'll just drop these and silver cards. Igni is not, if I had to pick any of my golds, I don't think I'd want to keep Igni here, but we'll drop Nausicaa here. We have the Emperor, that's pretty good. We're up against King Bran, likely Queen's Guard. We'll open up with the Emperor here. And we're going to be playing John Calveit next. Trying to find an emissary, one of our last emissaries. We may not find it. Interesting. War Longship. Now, that's a card I haven't seen in a while. Usually King Bran isn't running this these days, so this is good. I'll have to deal with that, but I think that I just have so much strength that I can put out. I think it's going to out-tempo his pings. I'm not going to deal with this. I'm not going to lock it. Although locking it is probably the best option, just because when you lock it, you can't res it. So, and it's possible that Ox is in here, or Ox can be sourced here, and I may be able to get a double lock on 2 long ships, but I do feel like I have to play Calveit now, because I could get 2 golems on Emissary, which is really bad. So we'll go ahead and play Calveit here. We'll put him on this row just to disrupt any Skellige Storm stuff, and there's the brigade. Hold on a second. So we have 2 brigades with no targets at the moment, so we're actually going to take Joachim and see what we get. It's going to be a brigade anyway, and we knew that. And that's how that works. It's really good because doing the 5 damage to Joachim, it's a massive play. We're at 40-5 already. So, you know, this is actually like, you're looking at a pass potentially right away when you're ahead by this much so early. And that's just like 2 plays. I've played 2 cards and I'm at 40 strength already. It's always good. The cool thing is that when you play Calveit, you really can already see like the combination that's possible right away. So we don't have Ox, but we wish we did. Let's be honest. We wish we had Ox here because 2 locks on these ships would devastate our opponent. The option is to pass being up by 30. And I don't mind that. In fact, but I would say that the real option here is probably Cantarella because we can afford to play it. And I'm going to do that. I'll play it on the siege row in case I want to Igni it later.
No one can hide from me.
We're not going to draw this. All the Nausicaa brigades are at the top of the deck. Might have something to do with kind of how the mulligan works. I put some on top of the deck and maybe just some kind of ended up there ING-wise. So here come the discards. We're going to get pinged for 12, I believe. 2 for each. Yeah, 2 for each. So we're going to lose 12 strength. We're going to be at 30, and he's still going to be at whatever strength I left him at after the Cantarella at 20, I believe. Plus King Bran's strength with 3, 23, 30. Not quite what happened. 31, I guess. I wasn't accounting for something, but he got his Raider out as well. So that's all right. So the game's now much closer, which makes me feel better about continuing to play cards, honestly. So now we're going to go. Now we know that the Nozick, we have a Nozick Brigade, unfortunately, at the bottom of the deck. But we have one in hand. So we can still start. We can kind of start our cycle here. So we'll play an Emissary here. We're probably not going to get a Nausicaa Brigade. We're going to get an Impera, which is fine. Because we know the next card that we're going to get is going to be a Vicovaro Medic. So we play our Nausicaa Brigade next to kill the Spy, and then we play the Emissary into the Vicovaro to bring back the Emissary in our opponent's graveyard. He's not interested in playing Joachim. He just wants to discard all day because he has his warships prime. And now he's starting to get ahead here. He's starting to get ahead a little bit. But I still think we're absolutely fighting for this. We have a couple of options still. We could, I don't think locking at this point, I think we're committed at this point, and locking is too late. I think that running Vanamar for Frost is just basically a waste because he's probably going to be able to clear it. Although Skellige has less options for clear because they don't have a bronze unit like Nausicaa Standard Bearer. But I could potentially Frost the back row. I could Igni the back row as well, but I feel like that's still not quite what I want to do yet. That seems like more like I could do that to take the round. So what I'll do is I'll actually just execute the Spy here and take the strength. Keep the game tighter, keep the game closer.
Wow.
This is more or less a standard discard list, but the addition of the warships is a little different than I'm used to.
Free as be the bravest.
I'm ready.
So Madman got a lot done there. Basically resurrected the 4th unit. As Sigurd Reefer resurrected 1. The Raiders resurrect themselves. And finally Sirius is out now. So now I'm down by 19. So now it's looking a little bit further away. I could Igni right now, but I think I'd rather just do the Vicovaro chain one more time. Probably get another... well, we'll see what we get here.
My prescription, a bit of bloodletting.
He doesn't have any... I have to play the other Nausicaa. So at least all the Nausicaa's found homes in the Spies here. Plus, because of Joachim, they're staggered. When they're all at 9, you're kind of asking for trouble a little bit. In case your opponent is running Igni.
God's protect us.
He's getting a lot of value out of those warships, as I knew he would. But I just had a feeling that I'd be able to fight through it. I fought through weather before, so I figured I would fight through this. We have another bit, like that's a pretty big swing play. I like a 9 strength bronze. But now we're falling ever further behind at this point. Guardian brings us right back up to 58, and I think that's okay. But the Emissary, though, it's all about getting the deck as thin as possible. I have 7 cards left in my deck, and he has 8 in his deck. So we're both doing a lot of thinning. I'm just going to go for the Emissary to the Vico. Now, the Emissary is dead at this point, so I'm going to steal a Queen's Guard. Because the Emissary has no more bronze cards to pull, and I'm happy to take a Queen's Guard away from him, honestly. I could have taken a Queen's Guard away from him earlier as well, but thinning my deck is pretty important. No draw on Ciri Dash at all, but I have a feeling we're going to see her. But that ends our machine right now. We've done all the thinning. We know we have no bronze units. I apologize. Left in the deck. So we're only drawing silvers and golds, which is pretty good. We have 2 in our hand right here, and we're going to be playing them. We had 3 really, 4 with Joachim and Cantarella. So. We know that Peter is in the deck still. So there's 6 cards, right? Peter, Ciri Dash, Cahir, Tibor. Okay. So if I play the Guardian, I'm up to 66. And then if I play Geralt, it's just enough to tie it. I don't know if I like that so much. Vanamar into Stammelford's is pretty strong. Vanamar into Frost is actually very strong. If there's no clear. But he just played Gremist. He could have a decoy for Gremist. I think we're going to find out if he has a decoy for Gremist.
Your words mean nothing now.
Because I'm getting 7 points off that. Vanamar already is worth 10 just from that. by which I mean 9, actually. Sorry, not counting that one. Not counting Ermion. So he'll have to decoy Grimace to actually do this. He's just going to pass instead. So this is good for me because I can Igni for the win, if I'm not mistaken. I might be mistaken. You guys know I do the NA math sometimes. It's not always proper. But it'll be good enough with the Frost Ticks. Just had to buffer myself in case I was wrong. I did go down a card now, so I will probably have to open pass here, but I did win the round. Ideally, you push Bran all the way to the end, so we're going to see how pushy I can be. There's Ox, unfortunately, a little late, and then there's Tibor, who's our win condition. So there hasn't been a lot of weather here. I'm going to take the risk and actually drop the standard bearer here for something a little bit more strong. It's an emissary, and we know that the emissary is not good because there's no bronze units left that aren't emissaries. So I was hoping that would be Kay here. I really was. Or Ciri Dash, wherever she might be. Really unfortunate. Only 4 cards left in the deck, and we know that's Kay here, Ciri Dash, Peter, and another card that I can't immediately place. The open pass, I think, is the best here, but I would love to play the Guardian. I think I would just love to play the Guardian here. I think I'm going to push. I think it's too dangerous to take Skellige into round 3. Because the Queen's Guard is the way that they beat you. They only need 1 card to do it. And I have no way of really reliably. He's going to go right for the Queen's Guards here, I think, because although he'll only have the 1.
Pansy.
So that's actually a very weak play for him. I'm ahead. I'm ahead here, and I will pass. Because he still has to play 1 more card to beat me. And he's going to be drawing the Golem. So I think, and I'll be mulliganing away the emissary. I don't know if Ox is going to have a great home, but I know Tibor is going to be okay. The only problem is Tibor could draw him a Priestess of Freya, which is kind of scary. And Diamond Shackles is a 0-point play. So I am still a little worried. I'm still a little worried, but I am going to pass because I am ahead here with the round win. And he's going to have to spend a card and go first. So I will get the last action, and that last action will be Tibor.
Should I pound it
Unless
into
he
a
passes on
corner?
me early, which would be bad. But his Queen's Guards are just not quite, you know, there was no Dragbondu on his side. There was no Operator Queen's Guard on his side either. So I feel like this is going to be a little easier than it normally is. Peter's very good here. And then we're going to hope this emissary gives us something to be excited about. Ciri Dash. Well, Ciri Dash only at 9. Unfortunate, as you can see. Well, you can't see because my cam's in the way, but there are only 3 cards left in the deck. And I know Kay here is one of them. I'm just searching my mind for the other ones, but I can't. But I know Kay here is definitely one of them, and it would have been great to have him in this game. So here come the Queen's Guards. Going to put him out right away. I think I might just hit one with Peter right away here. If he has more reses, we'll see Sarius again, and that might be a pain.
The common folk, I care for them.
Ciri and Tibor are going to be the gold strength that will hopefully carry us to victory. So he did have Dragbondu, which he didn't want to play before his Queen's Guards, and I wonder why. I really wonder why. I can't quite put my finger on it. He is very sure I don't have any more Vikovara medics, because he's got a great unit for me to steal, but I can't steal it, can I? I can't, can I?
Yield and save me some time.
I think it's just going to come down to Tibor helping me or not. But I think he has another Priestess in hand for sure if he's buffing the bear. So how big is the bear? This is a pretty big play. Where is he? 15 strength? It's a pretty big play. He played Operator into nothing. He must have drawn Operator late. So this is probably... So he had Dragbondu and Operator, but he had a bad draw. So we're trying to capitalize on a bad draw here. Looks like it's going to be Ox. Just to kill the Priestess to make sure that he doesn't want to use a decoy on it. I could have made a case to play that last turn as well. Diamond Shackle is going to look pretty weak.
Who is to die?
Diamond Shackle's pretty weak here.
Calling me a coward?
So his big play is a Freya into that giant bear. So that's going to be, so the bear now is 19. Is that right? 18 strength bear plus Freya is 19. So T-Boy is better than that, but he's going to draw an extra card, and my Diamond Shackles are probably not going to help me. This could be a loss. This could be a loss, but we're going to see. We're going to see how this works here. We're going to see how we do. Ooh, I gave him a Freya.
Modern Freya is
Makes me a little
patient,
nervous.
but she brooks no
Makes
insult.
me a little nervous.
Just careful there.
Very nervous. You know what? I don't think, I think that the deck, I think I still showed how the deck works, as well as, you know, you don't have to post a win every time. In fact, there's not a lot of YouTube videos I post where I lose, which I think is not honest. I lose games all the time, but I feel like I explain my plays really well. And you're going to get the defeat. You're going to get the defeat YouTube this way. You know, it's going to humble me a little bit, and I think that's totally fine. And, you know, you can't win them all, honestly. What do you do? But, you know, I still think that the deck does work. I think that Ciri Dash, it's unfortunate that we didn't draw it. I think that my opponent had bad draws as well. I think in a different cycle, it would have been a bit better. I was able to win the round. I was able to win round 1. I did have to go down in a card, and I think that ultimately hurt me. The Diamond Shackles didn't look good in this match, but believe me, it does have uses. I should have just gone ahead and used it on the warship. You know, like reviewing the play, locking that warship would have been very good. Drawing Ox early would have been extremely good. And having a Vikavara medic for that bear would have been very good as well. So you could see many ways in which I could have won that game, maybe with some different decisions. I don't necessarily think I played it wrong, but I know that there were a lot of other options I could have taken that might have been just a little bit better, or maybe some stronger considerations. But just trying to make a YouTube video here to show you the deck. Hope you enjoyed it. You know, it sucks to lose, but next time we'll be right back at it and we'll shoot for a win. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Hope you have a great day, great weekend, and we'll see you soon. Thanks.